Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media. Whoa, Thomas, we have a lot of tweets to cover today on June 15th. POTUS has been very busy. If you'd like to follow along and read the tweets with us as we decode them, please check at the description box and look at that link. I've got a lot of goodies in there for you as well, and pretty pictures. Okay, the first one is FBI agent Peter Strzok, who headed the Clinton and Russia investigations, texted to his lover, Lisa Page, in the IG report that, quote, will stop, unquote, close quote, candidate Trump from becoming president. Doesn't get any lower than that.
This is a beautiful tweet because, Betsy, what it shows here is that they had redacted the remark, will stop him. So, giving it to the Congress, who is supposed to be oversight for the DOJ and FBI, then this is absolute 100% proof of obstruction of justice. They redacted the very statement that proves his hatred and his animus and his willingness and his intent, his willful intent to not only obstruct justice, but meddle in the election, stop candidate Trump. And then once he was elected, this would be a coup d'etat. And so what is being said here is Peter Strzok needs to have a special investigation. And it has to be a special investigation, an independent special counsel.
Explain what independent is.
So that it is not part of the normal special counsel rigmarole, which is all fake.
Yes, but who gets to pick this? I mean, this is going to be another Jeff Sessions picking special counsel?
No, because it can't be anybody in the DOJ or FBI, because this is demonstrating that they didn't do their job. And the only reason to really call in a special counsel, and especially an independent special counsel, is because there is a conflict there and they cannot do it themselves. Now, did they need to do that with Mueller? Absolutely not. Do they need to do it now with Strzok, Page, and the whole thing that's coming unglued here? Yes. Do they need to reopen the a completely other Hillary Clinton email investigation? Yes. They didn't even name her as the person they were investigating. They didn't even call it an investigation. They had already decided before they interviewed her, and all of these things have come out in the very detailed IG report. But he gives details, and then he gives excuses for them. And then he says that they were biased, when in fact what he shows us from these text messages and their actions is their bias was 100% against Trump.
Well, who is going to choose this? Because we already know that the Department of Justice is filled with SES operatives, as well as in the executive branch all the way around. So who gets to pick this special counsel?
Unfortunately, Jeff Sessions.
Well, do you really think he's going to pick anybody who's going to do anything? No. I mean, this is just ridiculous, you know?
He picked Huber to tell everybody,
Huber
oh, don't worry.
Huber is SES too.
Yes. He picked Huber to make sure that he tried to tell the whole world that he was, picking somebody who was going to be objective, and he was going to take action and indict and bring convictions if they were necessary. There are no indictments insinuated here, no possible convictions, there are no crimes, and Michael Horowitz did exactly what we said, simply covered the trails and made sure that the crimes that were committed are brought out and said out loud like all psychotics do. Psychotics who commit crimes and do awful things, they're the first ones to say it out loud because they think that exonerates them if it's been said out loud. So that's all this is. This is nothing more than an exoneration of those people. Now, it insinuated that the further investigations, the 5 or 6 other investigations he's been saddled with, Michael Horowitz, may bring some of these things out, but I doubt that. If you took that long to determine that the investigation into Hillary's email was not correct and that there were crimes committed, then you are not going to find any crimes in anything else. So do not expect that Michael Horowitz is ever going to indict or suggest indicting anyone.
I know. But I'm just saying, Peter Strzok is SES, Lisa Page is, Christopher Wray, Jeff Sessions, they're all SES. And so if we're going to have a special counsel, who approves the special counsel?
Well, the president could take very extraordinary actions, and he could choose the person who would lead the team. I'm
just saying, you cannot have a special counsel who has any affiliation with the senior executive service operatives. Clearly, because they're all in the same club, they continue to protect themselves.
The IG report is an SES report protecting SES members.
Yes. And going to the next tweet, the IG report is a total disaster for Comey, his minions, and sadly, the FBI. Comey will now officially go down as the worst leader by far in the history of the FBI. I did a great service to the people in firing him. Good instincts. Christopher Wray will bring it proudly back. Ha.
Let me read in between the lines. He knows Christopher Wray is a cheating piece of crap because he has all of Hillary's emails and he hasn't opened an investigation into it. Okay, let me repeat that. Before Congress, Christopher Wray stated he had both on a USB, the 33,000 missing emails of Hillary, which will prove of her the way that she had mishandled all kinds of confidential information, classified information, all these, SCI, all the different ones. They were all that. She stole documents. She shredded documents. She broke every single rule there was, and the IG report says that. It says that she used her BlackBerry in foreign countries and talked with the President of the United States. That is a security violation, a national security violation. The President of the United States used an unsecure account to talk to her. Comey used an unsecure email account. Strzok sent to his own Gmail account the warrant that he changed for the Huma Abedin Anthony Weiner a laptop warrant, which then held up that process for a month, and he hid it, supposedly, from everyone and didn't act on it. Comey said he didn't know, which is a joke. I love what happened yesterday with an interview with Trey Gowdy and Goodlate, Congressman Goodlate with Fox News, and they ripped it to pieces, but they didn't go the next step. They should have demanded, because of this pathetic report, they said it was thorough. No, it is not thorough. They said it went point by point. No, they missed the most important points. 55,000 Strzok page emails back and forth, non-secure, on lines that then they lie and they said later then the most important text messages don't exist. That's a lie. Some of them were lost and the IG found them again. That's a lie. They were sent to Congress so they could look at them. That's a lie. They were all redacted. They had all personal remarks taken from them. They had all attachments taken from them. They had people's names simply removed and all SES members' names removed. That is what the Department of Justice said they did to those text messages. Now we see that just a couple text messages are enough to sink it. Plus, let's remember, Peter Strzok was contaminated from the beginning. He can't possibly be part of the Mueller investigation. He is contaminated. He was the major witness with Hillary, exonerating her, rewriting it so she'd be exonerated, Comey's report that he read, lying about it, protecting the Russians, protecting the Uranium One deal, protecting Clinton's payoff of the Uranium One deal. This was all McCabe and Strzok. And Strzok then became the number one witness in the Russian Mueller investigation. Then he got fired. That means the entire investigation has to be thrown out. Why aren't they saying that? Why aren't they saying that it is insinuated that there are 5 or 6 major leakers that literally the FBI had institutionalized leaking and everyone is being bribed and paid off for it, and the Inspector General can't name a single person that he can put in jail for that?
Well, his job is to make sure that no one in the senior executive service gets charged with any crime.
Correct.
Okay. Next
so,
one.
that was the hidden thing. And then, yes, Comey's a disaster, worst leader. And yes, Rod Rosenstein recommended that he be fired. And now the report recommended that he was insubordinate, did everything incorrectly, went far beyond any of the rules that exist or the normal rules that exist. He kept things from his superiors. He lied, he cheated, and he presented an exoneration before there was even an investigation. And yet, he supposedly did no wrong, according to Michael Horowitz. Amazing.
Next tweet. Thank you for all of the compliments on getting the World Cup to come to the USA, Mexico, and Canada. I worked hard on this along with a great team of talented people. We never fail, and it will be a great World Cup. A special thanks to Bob Kraft for excellent advice.
The World Cup, huge deal for the rest of the world. Big, big, big deal. It's like, it's like a religion. Guaranteed violence, guaranteed idiots, guaranteed violence in all venues, guaranteed attempted terrorist attacks. Why is he doing this? Because when you can hold this, you are then considered to be a real world player. And so we haven't been able to, Obama wasn't able to score that. And only because he shared it with, Canada and Mexico are we going to do this. And I'm sure it will be safe. I'm sure that Trump will make sure that it's very successful and it'll go off marvelous. If it was anybody else, I doubt that it would be.
USA jobs numbers are the best in 44 years. If my opponent, the Democrats, had won the election, they would have raised taxes substantially and increased regulations. The economy and jobs would have been a disaster.
Trump leads the Republican Party. And everything that he's saying now, he's back on focus for the election. He wants that midterm election to go well. And so every time he mentions this, it just basically moves the Republicans up further in the battle. And every time Pelosi or Schumer open their mouth, it just moves the Democrats back. And so the big issue here really is going to be what happens with DACA. I don't think he's going to sign any DACA legislation, even if it does get through the House and the Senate. I don't think the Senate's going to let it through. But best jobs in 44 years, when he was being interviewed on the front lawn of the White House, he was very proud about this, and he made a reference to Matt Drudge. But I just want to point out that Matt Drudge, the number one headline was him bragging about himself being talked about by Trump and Trump giving him compliments. And then Matt Drudge, the headline in red, Manafort goes to jail. Not anything about the IG report. Not anything demanding that there be the next step of the IG report. Not anybody who's actually upset about the content of the IG report. No.
Are you kidding me?
Manafort goes to jail.
The Drudge Report is the worst place you can go if you are looking for truth, because what it does is it corrals you into this one top page, and then it sends you off into all the propaganda media sites. Now, every once in a while, they might have something like, a Daily Caller or something, which we like to go to, but that's only to let you think that it's good. Matt Drudge is the worst place that you can go to find truth. It obstructs the truth. It hides the truth. They always said, oh, he's so brilliant. It's not a brilliant page, people. It's 3 columns of headlines that make no sense and do not give you an intelligent view of the world.
I would say Matt Drudge is about 3% in support of Trump. I'd say Breitbart is about 50% at this point. They write some of the worst articles about Trump, and then they try to act like they're the home of conservatism.
But that's because they want to round you up so you don't go anywhere else to look.
It's important to remember who owns these. Matt Drudge is connecting you to who? Mainstream media. The Mercers owned Breitbart, as well as Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is a lunatic. He is an ego-deluded person who thought he was controlling Trump. Well, he found out the truth now. But when you go to get truth, you better make sure that they are not running equally awful lies right next to the truth, because you're going to get really confused.
But sometimes it's just the omission. So, for example, as part of my daily job, I do go and I look at all the news sites. I haven't seen Drudge put on the top of its headline anything that's going on in the swamp. Conservative Treehouse is doing an excellent job. Do you think Drudge ever links to Conservative Treehouse? Never. That's because Drudge is there to keep you from looking. So if you like being corralled and you like being one of the dumb sheeple out there, you just keep going to that one little watering hole. Okay. Wow. The highest rated by far morning show, Fox and Friends, is on the front lawn of the White House. Maybe I'll have to take an unannounced trip down to see them.
I listened to the whole interview. It was shocking. It was historic. I guess it's never happened before. And it was a beautiful interview because he is a wonderful president. He's telling the truth. He's extremely consistent. And those people who say he lies, they're liars. I haven't caught him in any lies. I've heard him being a cheerleader now and then. He's always a cheerleader. He even said that, the fake mainstream media behind him, that some of them are really good people. Well, yeah, maybe somewhere. He probably hasn't met them. He's a cheerleader. Of course he's going to say positive things. That's his job. But to call him a liar, to say that, he beats his wife, or that he demeaned the whole world by meeting with North Korea, Kim Jong-un. I mean, these are just stupid things. The mainstream media has put the noose around its neck.
That includes Fox News. I mean, it's great that Fox and Friends was out there on the lawn and Trump took advantage of the camera time. Who wouldn't? But Fox and Friends is an entertainment site. what you're really going to see is half-naked women reading a teleprompter.
Well, they try sometimes, and we can name some of them. You know, they get good people on sometimes, and those good people do ask good questions. But the point is,
but they never go far enough.
Fox is not number one. Trump is number one. They report on Trump. They're number one.
Right.
And they're not 97 to 98% all negative. That makes them the only choice there is, unless you go to Citizen Journalists, Alternative News, go out to your internet and go to the site where you can find consistent truth, where when they make a mistake, they come back and they say they made a mistake. And this doesn't even happen on Fox. Remember Bill O'Reilly. Remember Megyn Kelly. They never backtracked and took back the horrible things they said. And it was all nonsense propaganda. And it was against Trump on purpose. They need to just tell the truth. Folks, the truth rings a certain way. Learn in your heart how to hear the ringing of truth. And then when you turn on mainstream media, you won't be able to handle it for more than a few seconds.
Okay, the next tweet is a quote from Mark Levin. Why in the world didn't Barack Obama fire this guy, Comey?
You see, this is the debate. The debate is, you have John Podesta out today saying that Comey lost the election for Hillary. No, he saved the election, or she would have had to have run it from jail. Anybody else besides Hillary Clinton would have gone to jail for what she did. Instantaneously, no trial. They lock you up. Is Manafort locked up? Yeah, he's been indicted, and then he was told some general things, and he took a phone and tried to contact two of his business partners. They're putting him in jail for that. Okay? Why didn't Hillary go to jail for using an illegal phone and putting national security and people's lives at stake? Because that's not the way that it works. The way that it works is Obama was making sure that Comey exonerated Hillary even after 300,000 more stolen espionage emails were found on Huma Abedin's husband's, Anthony Weiner's, laptop, which was massive, massive, massive crimes. So Obama wasn't ever going to fire Comey. He was doing exactly what he was supposed to do. But the problem is Comey is real stupid, and he makes a lot of mistakes. And he tried to go out and talk too much. He talks too much. He needs to shut his mouth. When you're in those positions, like Clapper needs to go to jail simply for saying what he's saying on the news. Well, same for Brennan.
Well, maybe they know they're not going to jail, and that's why they do what they do.
It is against the law what they're doing. They cannot talk about the details of what they did in the intelligence community for the last 5 years. That's why I love what you post on Truth News Headlines. The Pentagon is going to do security checks now because the junky people who get these security clearances are not even in some cases Americans.
Well, I have reported, and again it's reported on Truth News Headlines today, is that Obama had signed an executive order waiving the security questions that you had to ask for these senior executive service employees. And when you see the list, I have it in the attachment in the description box. When you see the list, you don't even have to be a U.S. citizen. You can hang around with the Muslim Brotherhood and all of this, and you are getting clearances. So I'm really glad to see that the Pentagon is going to take over the security clearances. And what I highly recommend, and hopefully this is already in place, is that this month, with all these amazing executive orders that have been released about revamping the executive branch and the various departments, is a system-wide security clearance background check for everybody. Because I'll bet you a lot of people won't even be able to pass the first level called Prove Your Citizenship.
Imran Awan did not have a background check. He had the highest security clearance. He had SCIF security clearance for the Congress, and the people on the House Intelligence Committee for a year and a half wrote letter after letter to get him that clearance. He didn't have a top secret security clearance, so he couldn't have gotten a SCIF clearance, but he did. That's the corruption. That's how bad it is. When they want a Pakistani agent to have total access, they have it. And the point is these are massive crimes. Any private first class, like I was when I went in the military, that did 1/1,000,000th of that would have gone to jail immediately. They would have never heard from me again. That's just the way it is. So when they start signing Pentagon security agreements, and the military starts using military tribunals to simply say, is this your signature? Is this a piece of paper you took out of your office? Off to jail until, throw away the key. That's the way that it works. And if there was real intent, if there was willful intent like with Hillary, that's espionage, that's treason, you can die for it. That can be the judgment against you if it was a Pentagon-approved top-secret security clearance or SCI clearance, and she had the highest. And to say that she can change documents and change their classifications as she walks out of them from a skiff, that is a lie. And so she had many top-secret documents that she would cut the top off, and in her mind think she reclassified it and send it over open lines. Google, Gmail lines. It's unbelievable. And that goes to the next tweet.
Yes, and now the next 6 tweets or retweets on Fox and Friends. This one's called Jason in the House. It's a video with Jason Chavitz, and it says, all of this started because Hillary Clinton set up her private server.
Go to jail.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
She set up the private server knowing that previous staff in her administration, in the State Department, and under her husband went to jail for doing exactly that. And yet she wants to claim she didn't do it on purpose? No other thing had to be investigated, Michael Horowitz. Did she have a non-secure server on a non-State Department secured line? The answer is yes. She goes to jail.
Then the next one, still with Jason Chavitz. Anything Mueller is doing with his investigation is tainted by the anti-Trump FBI agents.
That would be Strzok, whatever you want to call him. He tainted the whole thing. He tainted the email investigation, Michael Flynn investigation, the investigation against Manafort, which he was working on for years before that. He then knew Judge Contreras, who was the FISA court judge. He made false witness. False testimony. He lied and said that Michael Flynn had lied. That's untrue. Sally Yates says he lied. That's untrue. The other 2 people who were in the room said there was no deception. Comey says there was no deception. There was no lying. There was nothing wrong. So the whole Flynn thing completely tainted. The entire Mueller investigation must be thrown out because of Peter Strzok. And what we already knew all of this, by the way. And there is literally nothing in that Michael Horowitz stupid garbage report that we didn't know, folks. I have read it. I've read the executive review, that 9-page. Nothing in there, not a single speck, nothing, not a single fact that we didn't already know, and these people should have already been prosecuted individually instead of waiting for an inspector general to roll it into a big ball and say, I really don't see anything wrong.
Mm-hmm. The next one, same thing, still on Fox and Friends with half-naked women who belong in a cocktail party, not on the morning news. Do you think they require the women at Fox News to come half-dressed, showing, making sure their cleavage spills everywhere? I mean, remember that Megyn Kelly they kind of promote that whole prostitute thing just by the way they require their women to dress.
We've already seen in the mainstream media that Weinstein's casting couch is standard, folks. If you think any of those people get there without doing sexual favors and then they are constantly showing you as much skin as they can, you're naive.
What is the point? Okay, the DOJ IG report is 562 pages of nothing but bias and animus.
That is exactly what he said. We totally agree with it. Animus means, basically aggression, anger. It's hatred. You have Peter Strzok saying that not a single person in America should be allowed to vote for Trump or will vote for Trump. He will make sure of it. He will stop it. He will stop him from candidate Trump from getting elected. He will stop President-elect Trump from getting inaugurated. He will stop duly inaugurated President Trump. He will impeach him. That is what Strzok said. And then we're not going to put Strzok in jail? And we're not going to look at the rest of the crimes of Strzok? We're not even going to have an investigation on him? Where is Jeff Sessions saying, I want a special investigation now on Strzok and Page and Bill Orr and the rest of the people who were part of this small group that migrated from the counterintelligence crossfire hurricane to the Hillary's email scandal, to Michael Flynn, to the attempt to rig the election and the Russian collusion, to stealing things from President-elect Trump's transition team, and then attempting to impeach him, and now an attempted coup d'etat. Holy heavens.
Nothing here. Move along.
Oh, nothing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is one of the most damning rebukes of the FBI that I think we've ever seen.
At this point, the FBI has zero credibility, and the DOJ has zero credibility. I don't know how they can get out of that. Trump says, and most people say, it's the scum that rose to the top. It's the top leadership. Well, we say that too. But I'm sorry, as you pointed out, there's many SES members, 10,000 of them, until the scum at the top and SES is gone, there will be no FBI. There's no justice. That's fake justice. You have to be kidding. Lawlessness has come to rule Washington, D.C., and Comey was the leader of that lawlessness, and before him it was Mueller, and along with him was Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, John Kerry. We're talking about not just the top leadership. We're talking about literally hundreds of people. There is no easy redemption for the FBI and the DOJ. There must be a special investigation, and they have to clean house. And if anyone is even suspected of bias, they're out. They don't have to be fired, but they're gone. Because if you have bias, political bias, and you are weaponizing the FBI and DOJ against your opponents, your opposition, that is Soviet communism. That is fascism.
That's the SS.
That's the worst.
That's what it is. Okay. DOJ IG report finds that an FBI lawyer told a bureau employee, quote, "Viva la resistance," close quote, after President Trump was elected.
Now, there is one juicy bit that is in there that we haven't seen. We've seen it. We knew it existed, but we haven't seen it so explicitly, and we didn't know that Agent 1 and Agent 5 had an affair, an extramarital affair, and now they're married. We also know that Strzok and Page had an extramarital affair. By the way, the second you have an extramarital affair, you lose your security clearance. Period.
Well,
there's no exceptions.
No. Yes, there are, because if you're a senior executive service operative in our government, you're allowed to get away with all of this plus more.
That is true. I'm sorry. There are, as you point out on Truth News Headlines, as we have pointed out through our research, there are, when you get a top secret security clearance working as SES member, you don't even have to put your real name down. You can put an AKA. You don't even have to list what country you're from. You don't have to list whether you're an American citizen. You don't have to give any references. You don't have to give your home phone number. You don't have to give anything. You could be completely fake, like Imran Awan was, who came here on a lottery. He got pulled in a lottery immigration, no clearance, went straight to the top of the SCIF. Of the highest security you can get in the U.S. Congress, no security clearance.
Who did his security clearance?
I want to know who.
Well, the FBI is doing these security clearances. They were allowing all these people to be cleared to work.
I'll tell you how it went. Gregory Meeks, Al Green, and a member of the House Intelligence Committee, Andre Carter, demanded that Imran Awan be given exceptions, and all of his 4 other criminals, 3 of them were his family, they were allowed to be paid more than anybody else, even more than Congress people. They were allowed exceptions. They were allowed to violate the rules thousands of times, and then they forced them to get SCIF clearance, Imran Awan, because if you questioned them, it was called racial profiling because he was a Pakistani. So therefore, the first full committed Muslim in Congress got a Pakistani national espionage spy SCIF clearance, top secret security clearance, allowed them to rip off the Congress for years, $4.5 million, to run all kinds of other scams and still protect them to this very day. That's what's really going on, folks. The DOJ, the FBI, completely compromised. You can't count on them to do anything.
Next one, IG report bombshell. Anti-Trump FBI agent Peter Strzok texted his lover Lisa Page, quote, "will stop," close quote, "Trump from becoming president."
That's only one of many that we've already seen that show the bias, which Michael Horowitz said he didn't have. He said he had bias in his mind, but not political bias.
But you see, the thing is all of these things are in the report, yet the conclusion is basically, well, what is the
Just exactly what Trump said out on the lawn. Exactly what I was going to say before I heard him say it. This Michael Horowitz IG report is exactly like Comey's report on Hillary's email. It exonerated her. There was no investigation. She wasn't even named as a subject. Her stuff was all confiscated and protected as blackmail by James Comey. It's still there. No one's looked at it. None of Huma or Weiner's stuff has ever been looked at. That's a lie. There's never been an investigation. And so what's really going on? Same exact thing. This was an exoneration. They named the crimes so that then later nobody can say, well, did you know this? Oh, well, we need to open an investigation. No, you name all the crimes like every psychotic does. They always name all their crimes in front of the people they committed them on or to. And what happens? They think they're exonerated because they said it out loud. That's exactly what this is. That's what Comey did for Hillary's emails, and that's what Horowitz has done for the entire DOJ and FBI. And it's going to get worse because there's still the FISA abuses, there's still the leaks, there's still the spy investigation. All this is now under Michael Horowitz. None of it will ever come to a conviction.
Well, what about all those people that said that Michael Horowitz is a white hat?
They're idiots. We told them they were idiots from the beginning, just like Q. Q and all the Q-tards. I just went and read all the Q-tard messages yesterday. They are so off the mark, they don't even know what's going on in news. They aren't the inside of anything. And their supposed little cryptic messages are garbage. It's like a bunch of... They have a guy who's anonymous or some anonymous people who write stupid things and then Q gives them stupid answers. And if you're following that, I'm sorry. You have missed the boat. That's not the news. That's not Trump. That's not inside White House. That is nothing. And it said, trust Sessions, trust Horowitz, trust Huber, trust the plan. If you trusted them, you're a fool.
Well, I tell you what, I don't trust the plan. I want to work the plan. And what I think we need to do is, while the DOJ and the FBI are busy having this feeding frenzy off of each other, we need to go in and do a thorough security background check on everyone in the government. And we need to have the Pentagon run it, and we need to get rid of, we might be able to get rid of 30-40% of the people right there off the bat, and nobody cares. If you lose your job because you can't pass your security clearance, we don't really care. Go find another job. Then it's downsized again, because we know that there has been some downsizing. Then on the final downsizing, if you can't get rid of those, that's when we can pull in the Holman rule and bring them down to $1 a year salary or whatever's painful to make them go away. And you know, the thing is we could get rid of these people quietly and no one in the country will know, because they'll be listening to Drudge or Fox News, and those media outlets will never report it.
Yes, that would be a beautiful world. It has to go slow, though, because that's the way bureaucracies work.
Yes.
And this is a very large bureaucracy. It's like getting a dinosaur to dance. It's not going to happen well if the dinosaur is a giant dinosaur. Even getting them to turn around, or even to turn their ways, or even to go on a different track. But we're seeing it, and basically the great disruptor, Donald Trump, the wrecking ball, is knocking down these deep state walls that have kept Washington, D.C. completely away from justice, from law, from courts that actually are honest. And what we're seeing is a complete transformation. And now what we're seeing in this report, well, this report is simply more of the same. It's the status quo.
Let me read the last tweet so that you can conclude with those thoughts. Donald, this is a quote again from Mark Levin. Donald Trump was 100% right to fire James Comey.
There can be no collusion with Comey. There can be no Mueller investigation looking into collusion. There can be no Mueller investigation looking into the fake Russia-Trump connection, because we now know that Peter Strzok created it with the Russian-Trump dossier with the help of Christopher Steele, Alexandra Chalupa in Ukraine, and many Russians through the Brits, because the Brits, for instance, Anthony Wood was involved in this. He's the British High ambassador to Russia. Okay? He was involved in this. So what we're talking about is Trump couldn't possibly have committed a crime. The Mueller investigation is simply a continuation of Comey's counterintelligence attack operation against Trump, which was created by John Brennan and a variety of other people, which we've shown you. So, yes, Trump is exonerated again. He's already been exonerated for the Mueller investigation. There is no collusion. There was no Russian collusion. There was no obstruction of justice with Comey. There's none of that. So these things just need to go away now. Will they? This is a political season. This is going to be used as the political banter right on up through the 2018 election. And I sincerely doubt that even if Strzok does come through the subpoena to the Congress and testify, he's going to plead the Fifth. I believe that the DOJ and the FBI, they now say, according to Goodlate and Trey Gowdy, that after that meeting when the president sent John Kelly to say to the DOJ and the FBI, give them the dadgum things they want now. Supposedly, over 40,000 of these unredacted documents have been provided in a special room, and they have their investigators, their staff, their intelligence staff over there going through them right now. So we can expect more and more reports to come out, but the reports are going to be just like Horowitz. Here are the crimes, but we're not going to prosecute. No reasonable prosecutor would bring this case. Wrong.
How can these people even walk the streets anymore? A Peter Strzok or a Lisa Page. We all know who they are and what they've done. It seems to me that they would want a fair trial, so if they were not guilty, the world could see.
Look what Andrew McCabe's doing. And poor Andy McCabe was going to lose his SES retirement, which you can't lose, by the way. $500,000. He had to call off his GoFundMe account after a very short period of time when he had $500,000 to defend him for his crimes.
For his treason against the Americans?
He is now bringing suit against the DOJ and the FBI because they say that he says they treated him wrong. No, he committed so many crimes, I can't list them all, and yet he is going to be funded by idiots through a GoFundMe account for $500,000 while Paul Manafort goes to jail for bogus nonsense. They have the telephone calls of Manafort. He didn't say anything. So who cares that he called somebody? He does a lot of business in Ukraine. How is that a crime? First off, the judges have all pointed that Mueller's attack against Manafort and Gates is probably not going to hold water. There are so many legal loopholes in everything that Mueller did, but they had to put somebody in jail, didn't they? They had to storm Manafort's house and steal his attorney-client privilege materials, get the materials they want illegally, and then give them back to him. They had to put all of his houses up as his bail. Then they had to put him in house arrest. And then they had to stop him from even speaking on the telephone. They didn't tell him he couldn't. Now they put him in jail for that. That's what D.C. is about.
Yeah, but the judge is an Obama-appointed judge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a federal judge. And we all now know that the federal courts are so corrupt. They're actually not a part of the United States judicial system. They're an incorporated body.
And soon, Michael Horowitz will be in charge probably of the Justice Department. And he will have dirt on everyone, and it will be more corrupt than ever. And he was basically groomed to do this, and basically he's there to protect the status quo, the establishment, the senior executive service, what we call the shadow government. And that's just standard operating procedure. I don't think that's going to continue anymore, because it used to be that once someone was told, with absolute impeccable brilliance and tremendous ethics, Michael Horowitz conducted this event. No, he did not. When they say that, that means he's the next one in line to be the big Washington, D.C. lawyer fixer for the White House. He is horrible. He needs to be kicked out of his job, and what his investigation shows, he's not going to find anybody guilty of any crime, period, and he needs to be kicked out, and there needs to be an independent investigation done. And these people need to have very quick, independent investigations, not going after conspiracy, going after simply leaks. You leaked, you go to jail. You leaked, you go to jail. You leaked, you go to jail. While you're in jail, we will develop the other cases on you, but we have so many people we have to put in jail right now. We're just getting you for the standard thing that you are going to do a plea bargain on. And then we'll get you for the other things later, because the plea bargain doesn't have to mention what the other crimes were. The other crimes are listed in Horowitz's report. They're listed in all of our intelligence reports. They're listed in our audios. Crime after crime after crime. A junior lawyer, fresh out of school, could get a conviction on any of these things. So, folks, we told you so. Horowitz is fake.